Hey, how's it going? So you are likely here because of MidGarden2, which just dropped on Hacksmarter.org. So this is a machine that I ended up creating because I was interested in the DEF CON talk and the exploit that they ended up showing in it. If you don't know what I'm already talking about, then you can head over to www.hacksmarter.org, check out the catalog, and you're searching for MidGarden2. So just a heads up, going to be spoilers in this, so if you don't want any information about it, you might as well move along, because I am going to be talking about like the vulnerability, the main vulnerability within this, and I won't be talking about the commands or how specifically to exploit it, but just the research behind it briefly, very briefly, and let you know that you can head over there and try it out for yourself, see if you can actually get through it. They ended up rating it hard, and that's because if you do it the intended method, then you're probably going to end up having to bypass Windows Defender. You're going to end up having to bypass Windows Defender, just detecting on one of the tools that's is typically used when attacking Active Directory. I'll tell you now that there are methods that don't require you to bypass a Defender in any method. Like, you don't have to do any trickery to get past it. And I saw that today, as a matter of fact. It was actually pretty impressive. It allowed them to do two things, right? So they ended up creating the thing that you need to create. And then with another tool, they were able to pull the ticket. I'll say that if you don't know how the exploit works initially, then that's probably not gonna be the path that you end up taking, and maybe that's not the path that I would even recommend, because if you're going the method that I have intended for everyone, then you'll probably learn quite a bit about the exploit, about the commands that you have to run, so on and so forth. So let's take a look at it real fast. So this is MidGarden. As a member of the Hacksmarter Red Team, you've been assigned to this engagement to conduct a comprehensive penetration test of the client's internal environment. The client has a mature security posture and has previously undergone multiple internal penetration testing engagements. Given our team's advanced expertise in ethical hacking, the primary objective of this assessment is to identify attack vectors that may have been overlooked in prior engagements. And then you start off with some credentials and you can go from there. So that's kind of the end of that. I am going to go into the vulnerability now. If you're already looking up at the top, then you've already seen what the main vulnerability is, but I just kind of wanted to discuss it and why did I even create this box, and so on and so forth, and then show you how to make it yourself. So if you wanted to go and like set up the environment quickly, then you could do that. You'll probably have to scrub through because I'm not putting in timestamps for you, sorry. So anyway, let's take a look at this. So in DEF CON 33, Yuval Gordon from Akamai, I believe, did this DEF CON talk on dMSAs. So the UnRightful Heir, my dMSA is your new domain admin by Yuval Gordon. Excellent talk. I recommend that you watch it. It's 33 minutes, 33 seconds long. And it goes over the exploitation and abuse of delegated managed service accounts inside of Active Directory Windows Server 2025. And how those can be used. So anyway, if you're gonna start learning and going down this method of learning how to do this, then I would start off with the talk. It's 33 minutes. It'll really help you. And if you stop your machine in time, then you'll save yourself 33 minutes while you're trying to figure out how to actually perform the exploit. Microsoft issued a patch a few days, I think, after his conference, after his talk, and I actually think that he discusses it in one of these posts here on Akamai's product page or blog page. And I'll have a lot of these linked down in the description. So if you're looking for these articles, then you can go ahead and look through them yourself. Ultimately, it's exploitation of delegated managed service accounts, and Microsoft's intention to make it a little bit easier to migrate from legacy service accounts into delegated managed service accounts. If we take a look through here, we should see attributes. Let's see. The migration status of a dMSA is dictated by the MSDS delegated MSA status attribute, a new attribute that determines the current state of a dMSA. There are currently no official documentation on the dMSDS delegated managed service account state attribute, so the following table is based on our own behavioral analysis and experimentation. A value of 0 is unknown, a value of 1, migration is in progress, a value of 2, migration is completed, migration value of 3 is standalone dMSA, no migration. So during the exploitation, what you're going to be doing is actually setting the MSDS delegated MSA dMSA state attribute to a value of 2. And this is going to allow you to also set an account to like impersonate on the dMSA in this value. The MSDS managed account preceded by link. And then you're going to need the DN of the superseded account name in order to actually make that work. So that's the distinguished name. So what makes this vulnerable? What is this vulnerable, and what are you really looking for when you're trying to identify this vulnerability? So it's Windows Server 2025 to start off with. There is actually, I think it's just create objects. Let's see what it is. I believe it's just like create object on the OU. 1 second, and I'll validate. Right, so it is create all child objects on the organizational unit. So as long as the user has access on the OU, then they can form this. So let's just take a look real quick, and then we'll swing back over here as to how you are going to set up your environment so that you can just test this out in your own location locally. And maybe this will help you because the MidGard environment is going to have antivirus enabled. And so if you want to just set this up at home and make sure that it's even working and make sure that your commands are working before you go and attempt to like work through MidGarden, then I can help you kind of set up the server. It's really, really simple. And yeah, so 1 second, let's switch over to my attack box and I'll show you. Excellent. So this is MidGarden. This is the this is actually my personal home lab. This is just a server that I've got running in it. And this is what I configured when after I like looked through the talk, I read through the papers, and just determined like what is necessary in order to, I guess, create the vulnerable organizational unit. So inside of our users, we're going to see who is actually in the web administrators web server admin group. So he is a member of web server admins, and web server admins here have the ability to read and create all child objects in this organizational unit. So through this, they can do several things. They can create computer accounts. They can read everything about it, and they can set the value that's required on these dMSAs in order to perform this actual attack. So that's really, really all that you need. Once you've created either a group or a user, then you can come in and select delegate control, walk through. Let's do, is it web server admins? I guess we can come into as a custom task on the organizational unit objects. And we're going to look for read and create all child objects, and then you finish. We come back and check the settings. Not for web admins, but for web servers. We should see the properties that we've set. And we do. So on the organizational unit, they now have create all child objects and read access on the OU. And then from there, you're pretty much set. So you can do the testing at home, and you don't really have to worry about like bypassing AV if you've gone ahead and disabled it. And that will help you do, one of two things. Make sure that your commands are working. Either, if you, so really, I wasn't able to use like any tool that I found publicly online. So I ended up, working through each of the steps on my own, just reading through the sections, and the research that he has here. Watching him as he, talked about it in his scripts and in his talk and the commands that he ran, and yeah. So let's take a look at the attack real quick. According to the diagram and Yuval laid out in the Akamai research paper. So you're going to create the dMSA account. So make sure that you're focusing on that. Then you're going to simulate the dMSA migration. And remember, in order to do that, you're going to need these two values. You're going to need to write the target account's DN, distinguished name, to the MSDS managed account preceded by link, and then set the MSDS delegated MSA state to a value of 2. And if you recall in the table above, that is what they believe to be a migration completed status. And then you're going to be able to request a ticket, request a dMSA ticket for the attacker, and then you can use that to perform requests with, right? So in the remaining bits of the paper, you'll see that he goes through and has like a demo. He shows you how to create the account. It looks here like he's just added a user and then manually set the create all child objects and read access on the OU. And then he begins to go into the actual attack itself. So creating the dMSA account, setting the values, requesting the ticket, so on and so forth. Then he goes into a little bit more detail concerning how the RC4 hash key can be pulled. And so you can get the hash value for any user that you are impersonating, any impersonated user. Something important to keep in mind is that if you are going to go through the manual method, if you are working through that method, make sure that you are using Rubeus version 2.3.3, at least, because that is it was updated to include the required function for the dMSA abuse. So if you don't want to compile it yourself, you can head over to my GitHub. Hopefully this is it. Awesome. And I should have a repository here that's just like compile binaries. The only one that's even in the compile binaries is Rubeus, and it's the latest version. So if you don't already have this yourself, then you can go ahead and come here and grab it. Although I would, maybe set it up on your own, like get it downloaded and compile it on your own. There is going to be a like lab computer that gives you access to the tools that you're going to need in order to compile the binary, and this is so that you could make sure that you're working through to do some a little bit of obfuscation in order to run Rubeus on the device, on the server, on the domain controller, if you end up going that route. And honestly, these are great steps, great things that you should learn. And if you don't, if you're not doing them, then you really should be trying to learn these methods. I spent a lot of time not working through, and just continually going back to basics over and over and over. And I think that when these new exploits come out, that the best thing that you could probably do is come and create your own lab, set them up yourself. That really helps you to understand the vulnerability a little bit better, and work through the steps to exploit it. I think that will help you in the long term. Become more familiar with the vulnerabilities, and then also at some point you should begin to have tools that other people may not. So let's do a small little example. So I can show you what it looks like before and after. In this example, I have the scripts directory here. It's I've added an exclusion. Here so that I don't have to bypass AV, and that's kind of the good thing about setting up a lab, is that you have the ability to test it without I don't know, something as silly as Defender getting in your way. Let's take a look real quick at the Active Directory and just see what we see real fast. Before and after of the organizational unit. So if we head over to web servers right now, we just see the two web servers in here, Vanaheim Web 1 and Vanaheim Web 2. Let's head back over to Kali and let's invoke BadSuccessor.ps1. And That's me. That's a typo. There we go. So I've got it spitting out a lot of information here, and it is doing a lot of the stuff manually. Some of this I've had to set up on my own. So again, you can create this same little script. And of course, a lot of this actually relies on having Rubeus on the server in the same directory as we're invoking the PowerShell script. So just make sure that if you're going to go this route, that you're doing the obfuscation required in order to bypass or to run it on a server that has Windows Defender enabled. But here, what you can see, a few things should just stand out immediately just from what we were kind of discussing. So I've named the dMSA account NoxDMSA. This is the account that we're going to kind of impersonate, right? So we're going to get the ticket as Ymir, who is an enterprise admin. We're going to set them as the value in the MSDS managed account preceded by a link, and then we're going to set the MSDS delegated MSA state to a 2. And if you remember, that's status of migration complete. Then we're using Rubeus to request a ticket, and then we're going to take that ticket, request TGS, get the ticket.kirby file, and then we can use that in order to authenticate as the user. If we actually, let's download it. Right, so we need to convert our ticket here into Ccache format, and then we can export that. And from there, we can utilize it. 10.5.0.125, I think is my DC name. And k -- use, is it kcache? Maybe it's Ccache. Ccache. I think I called it outpush.ccache. That's not it. Let's get the help info. It is use kcache. Okay. So let's take a quick look at the ticket. So we can see the default principal is NoxDMSA. But if we execute with NoxDMSA, we'll see from Ccache, we are status opponent. I hope this was helpful and that you can end up setting it up in your own lab. I definitely recommend checking out these articles down in the description by Yuval from Akamai, as well as his talk here at DEF CON 33. It's excellent. And I think that it'll really help you when you're working through these steps. Oh, and keep in mind, just a little bonus, like what we did here is actually not even necessary. If you know the commands, if you can, program, do some programming, then you can, do each of these steps without actually, needing like, I guess, access to the Evil WinRM session. Also, this is not Hoder's password. I just edited it so that you could see that for the video. So, users, scripts, and if we actually take a look at check dmsa.ps1, we should see here that the delegation is set to delegated converted. Enabled is true. We can see the name of the dMSA, and then we can see that the preceded by link attribute is set to Ymir administrators, Yggdrasil.users, Yggdrasil Hacksmarter. If we head back over to the domain controller and authenticate, super secret password, and then we refresh, we can see the computer account and the dMSA that were created here. I hope that this is helpful, and I hope that you have fun working through this machine and learning about delegated managed service accounts. If you end up compromising the machine without having to access or like, I don't know, bypass, Defender or obfuscate Rubeus. Let me know how you do it in the comments. I'd be really, really interested. Otherwise, you can go into the Hacksmarter Discord and type it out in there. We'd all be interested in how you did it. There's gonna probably be a channel for the MidGarden release, and you can go in there and work with others while you're coming through. So yeah, hope that you have a good time. Hope that you liked it, and check out Yuval. See ya.